cassava vis-a-vis other products, crop products like maize, for example. Nutrition-wise, you'll notice that cassava, if you consider it as a way of controlling obesity and other high-level non-communicable diseases, you'll notice that maize is more at a risk than cassava. And why am I saying so? Because cassava, a volume of it per 100 grams gives you only 40 grams of carbohydrates, while maize, 100 grams gives you 72. So you can get more obese from the maize if you are looking at the overweight. And that is of it. So the Ministry of Agriculture planned to convert the 500 hectares, approximately 202,342 hectares of idling public land belonging to various state corporations for maize production as a solution to food security. Now, I've just told you that maize is not a better alternative to cassava. And the government is also looking to expand irrigation.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to reserve all the questions to the end of this session. I want to thank
purpose vehicle and a federal executive council approved public-private partnership projects on biomass, bioethanol value chain across the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria. And this was done in line with the National Bioeconomic Development Agenda that was captured out of the ERGP program that started in 2018. A lot has been talked about the triple helix. That's what we're also leveraging. We're leveraging a triple helix knowledge, just not only planting on and off season, we are also now co-planting with soybeans, best degree up to master's degree. And hopefully we'll be hitting, the postdoctoral and doctoral levels. Now, what are our project dynamics? First and foremost, the FAC approval, we have is to establish 6 bioethanol plants across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. And this is why we said that the first thing we needed to do was to be able to make certain that we broke the circle system and the celebrated 20 frontline states, that produce cassava into something that can now, begin to run in full circles. And to this end, we are doing 1,000 hectares with departments of agriculture. We have in our triple helix agreement, we have an MOU with the Faculty of Deans of Agriculture. And then our timeline is an 18-month pilot phase with a rollout, within 2 to 3 years. So, our broad outputs, 60,000 plus green jobs and MMSs created during our pilot. Now, why are we doing this? We are in every state, like in Abuja here, for those of you who are here who want to come by, we have our center in Kuje. And in Kuje, where we have our center, part of what it is we're doing to be able to disrupt the price of land, to be able to do 66 million, tons of cassava. Where do you have that under cultivation? And the Nigerian in us took over. We now started wanting to defend our country. We don't have 3 million hectares of land in cultivation. Let's tell ourselves that truth. So that statistics, gentlemen, is something we might need to look at again. Because I was invited to this Bauchi State's first economic summit, And I also raised a point about forage. And I said to the governor, I said, sir, for you to be able to do one where we are planting commercial forage on a commercial basis, we don't. And part of what it is we can be able to do with this 66 million, please let us, for the purpose of this conversation, adopt it. 66 million metric tons of cassava tubers that we produce is that we can use 22 million of it to be able to blend soya beans and then begin to do animal feed. And not only that, we can be talking about other.
I want to believe that I'm not the only one who heard what he said. That what they're looking at is having Gary as a waste from cassava. I'll be willing to say that, sir. Thank you so much. So I want to believe that Famakola Adeni is here. The University of Kinshasa, are they here? FAO, are they here? Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, are they here? Please don't go away, sir. So let me invite for the second paper titled Utilizing Modern Machinery in Cassava Farming to Boost Food Supply and Industrial Growth. The paper would be presented by Professor Emmanuel Bobobi, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Ghana. Akwaba.
They produce a lot of food and then they send to SA as food aid. So cassava and mechanization. Like we all know, cassava is over about 1 billion people in Africa. We produce over 64%, but it is the least mechanized staple crop in Africa. And mechanization says that we experience land preparation, planting, weeding, harvesting, and processing. Most of these are not mechanized. So mechanization and automation, will modernize food system, but then they will also affect job creation. And cassava is a vivid example of the least mechanized crop with high potential for job creation. And inclusive, skill-oriented policies can turn these risks into sustainable rural transformation. So the challenge is tried it was playing. I want you to see this. No. Because this lady, if you see the way she fell, if she were your sister or your daughter, you wouldn't actually approve of her to do this.
Sorry for the break in transmission. Incidentally, this is the most interesting part of his presentation. And I'm pleased with the Prof's presentation, and of all of us that are here, his university is the only university that I have visited. I spent a whole week in Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Ghana, in Kumasi. I spent a whole week in that university in May this year.
It well. It is for all of us to get involved in this process, share experiences as farmers. Why we did is because we are involved in a more corporate and a more enlarged way. Cassava can actually be that can get
brought an harvester, big harvester, and you cannot use it during the, we have 2 seasons when you are planting maize. So during the first early maize, the harvester cannot go to the farm. So at the end of the day, they have to resort in using manual harvesting, whereby you have some other track one that can do the job better. So thank you.
He can make his own contribution while we're waiting for Bosima to conclude his presentation.
Yes, thank you. My own experiences has been in the area of process equipment design, development, fabrication, installation, troubleshooting. I've done considerable work in that area. So my comment about the first
cultivation. So I'm going to speak from the area of using cassava as raw material for industrialization. I think the first thing that we need to consider is the development of new varieties. So in National Root Crops Research Institute, Omudike, Nigeria, we have developed 56 improved cassava varieties. And even as we are developing these varieties, we don't just breed and develop, we develop based on TPP, Target Product Profile. So each cassava for fufu production, cassava for gari production, cassava that has high starch content, and that is where we are channeling our breeding right now. Thank you.
Thank you. So Mambo, Dr. David, let's get his final words on his presentation.
If I can finish, then we can go to the presentation.
Yes, please.
Thank you. 2 things. Number 1, for me, a good waste is a waste that can be transformed to a useful.
Tractor operation is one business whereby if in the year they say the cost price of a hectare is maybe 1,000 naira, it doesn't matter how far the farm is from the homestead. So examples of 3 farms, A, B, and C. A is closer to the homestead of the tractor owner, and then C is farthest. And if it is 1,000 naira per hectare or per acre, the tractor owner will travel to farm C, which may be several kilometers. And the cost of fuel to that place is borne by the tractor owner. And that is also one of the costs. So the objective of this study is to introduce, demonstrate, and popularize mechanical or mechanized cassava cultivation through, weeding, from land preparation, weeding, ridging, weeding, and harvesting. So this is actually from Niji Lucas Field, 2018. And then that is the farm manager plus 2 of the workers. Now, in this study in mechanization, when we are talking about mechanization, we talk about drudgery. The study we have been conducting at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Ghana is that we use the heartbeat of the worker as a proxy for drudgery. You know, the heart is one organ in our body which with clinical precision can predict our feelings, whether we are happy, whether we are sad, whether we are stressed or what. And for this study as an agricultural engineering exercise, we are using when the person is doing manual work. And here you can see the lower portion where there's rest. These are 2 women, the Fatima 2, and then the farm manager. So when they were not doing anything at all, immediately they started uprooting cassava like the previous slide. You see the way their heart rose. And that is a sign of drudgery. When they stopped the work, the heart fell. But if in the unlikely situation whereby they finish and then the graph does not decline, that may lead to fatality. And it has been happening to a lot of farmers. So, we are using some device that a lot of sports people use to, check their heartbeat and then for fitness and then the rest. And we translate this heartbeat into values that we can take and then go and clinically actually assess it and translate from kilocalories to watts and then use that in an equation. So, what is the response to all these painful things? We want to develop the tech mechanical cassava harvester. So the solution from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Ghana is that we have come out with a mechanical cassava harvester, and then this has got the qualities of, it's very, very light, about 280 kilograms compared to imported ones. And then this actually has been patented at the Francophone zone. And this harvester takes 1 second or less to harvest a plant compared to 5 to 10 minutes manually, especially when the ground is hard. We produce over 50 versions, and then we sold some in Ghana, La Côte d'Ivoire, Jamaica, Nigeria, and South Africa. And then we have capacity actually to produce to satisfy continental demand. This is the patent, and then these are some of the awards that we got. It was the first Excellence Engineer Award by the Ghana Institute of Engineers. African Prize in Engineering Innovation also shortlisted it. Innovation Prize in Africa also shortlisted it. And then my master's student published an article in an American journal, and there are about 44 citations and about over 6,000 reads now. So, please, can you play this video? This is the mechanical harvester, and this is how it. Okay, this is when the ground is very, very hard. But the previous one is when you plant, you have to plant in rows. And the device, can you play the previous one? And the device goes in such a way that it goes beneath the root cluster. And then it excavates the roots. And then after doing that, the field is plowed. No, the one before, the first, the one with the green, the slide before this one. Yeah, this one. So, what this is saying is that if once you plant on ridges, which is straight, or it is able to, you are able to harvest rapidly, no matter how difficult or hard the soil is. It's okay. Then so after harvesting, this is how the field looks like. So you just go and then manually, pick it. Unlike the previous blisters we have seen, and then the falling of that lady. Next slide. So this whole device is so rugged. In fact, it has been built for life. The issue, initially it was not for profit making. It is also to just say, as a son of a farmer, how can my education also help to alleviate some of the problems I faced as a young man growing up. So we developed it in such a way that it is rugged. It has got only one spare part, and that is the blade. And even this blade, the metallurgical formula was what actually I used for my PhD. And we have made it reversible so that if one side is worn, then you can take the other. And this is the only spare part. And up to now, we have not been able to estimate how many hectares it can work before you change it. This is just showing how you can estimate the wear and then how many hectares it will work before that one. But this is for the same formula when we use is for animal plow, animal thrashing plow. So this was a demonstration in South African University of Venda, where I installed a demonstration plot there 10 years ago, and then I was demonstrating the harvesting for colleagues to see. This was one of the pro-vice chancellors, and then he was excited to see cassava being harvested mechanically for the first time. This was the same field where we were doing a field day. You can see the way the cassava was harvested. This one was also harvested mechanically, and the damaging was slow. This was in Mpumalanga in 2015. The ground was so hard, and that day we asked 10 women to also harvest 10 plants. And then we asked the same tractor operator to harvest. And the tractor operator was able to harvest more than an acre, while it took those 2 women an average of 5 to 10 minutes to harvest. This is the graph of their heartbeat. The top 2 are for the women who were harvesting just 10. And you can see how high their heartbeats are. And then the down ones are the heartbeat of the tractor operator. The mauve one was during the earlier period, a year before, when we were preparing the land. And then the red one was during the time he was harvesting, the slide you have seen. And it means that the heartbeat of the tractor operator is not that high. And for that matter, he's not suffering any physical pain. And he can continue to do this maybe for 5 hours or 6 hours a day. And that is what we are talking about, the drudgery. This woman, between the 2 of them, they took 70 minutes to harvest 10 stems. Now we are talking about drudgery in agricultural drudgery. This is a mathematical formula for drudgery. When we say drudgery, it's like the physical pain you experience in doing a manual work. Now, if the work is tedious, you cannot sustain it for a very long time. So the moment you do a small work and then you have to, recuperate for a long time, the shorter the time you spend on the work, that means the work is difficult, and that is the sign of the drudgery. So all these manual activities you have been doing, that is actually a manifestation of how difficult, how painful physically these works are. And that P, the P down there, that denominator, is the heartbeat that you take from the working section there. The device can harvest, in addition to cassava, yam, sweet potato, and Irish potato, provided they are planted, in rows or on ridges. So this has got a lot of industrial relevance. We planted about 22 varieties produced by our research scientists, and then we profiled the starch content of 6 of them. And this was from 7 months after planting to 12 months, 13 months. And you can see that the starch content was rising, uniformly to about 12 months, and then it started declining after 13. This is trying to prove that cassava can become an annual crop. And for that matter, if you want the starch for industrial processing, there's no need to leave it in the soil for long. Because even though we all know, cassava stores best in the soil. But if you want to commercialize and industrialize cassava production, then, 12 months is enough. A lot of people have talked about, these are some of the elite products you can get from cassava, from bioethanol. Even in Ghana, we have 2 brands of beer made from cassava, all the way to the bioplastics and then the rest. And all the animal feed, poultry feed, the textile industry, the pharmaceutical industry, these are all, something you get from cassava, and plus more. In fact, one researcher was saying you can get about 200 products from cassava, in addition to our bagari and then the rest. This was just some rough estimate you have done about the revenue stream from cassava. In Ghana now, a ton of the fresh cassava is costing 1,500. At the time we did it, the dollar rate was 12 cedis to the dollar. So per hectare, you can get about $125, and then for an acre, a hectare, you will get about $3,750. Now, there's 1 million hectares that is being planted to cassava, but they are doing it the traditional way, the Adam and Eve way, haphazard. Now, if we have adopted this way, it is likely to quadruple, and if we quadruple, the revenue stream will go higher. Now, in Ghana, we cultivate cocoa on 2.7 million hectares, and nobody takes cocoa beverage as a meal in the home in Ghana. These are just for export. And we are saying that we allocate the most fertile part of the land in Ghana to grow cocoa, which is not our staple. But we grow cassava on marginal lands. And if we adopt these new mechanization technologies, this is the revenue stream we'll get. And our countries will not be going to the IMF and the World Bank to be humiliated by those guys. So the opportunity is that we must change from the old way, the haphazard planting, to ridge planting in rows. And that will actually be amendable to all forms of mechanization. This is the ridging. This is when you ridge, the ridges are wide apart, but within the ridge or on the row, you take the reciprocal of the space so that you don't miss on the plant population density. So there are so many potentials. This is the ridger that we have developed locally. And then these are two types. This is the moldboard one. So this is also, there's a video, but I mean, it's the same thing. It creates two ridges at a time. And then the good thing is that we can modify the ridger to weed so that you don't need to get labor to do that. And once there are 3 months, I mean, you are heaping the soil. In fact, if you do like this, this is in my research field in the university, it's about 20 acres. And then we have been doing this mechanically. This is also one of the ridges, the moldboard one, but this was at 5 months old. And when we use that one, it cleaned the field, and then at the mature stage. So once you've reached, so that is also another pillar we have developed. And then we have got a slicer also, so that you slice, you peel, you slice, and then you dry the same day, then you get the high quality cassava flour. So in conclusion, I mean, this is the first mechanical cassava harvester developed by an African for Africans, and then we think if we adopt these innovations, it will unlock the huge potential of cassava on the continent and make cassava not even a multi-billion, but it can even become a multi-trillion dollar crop. I mean, and Africa must embrace these technologies by its scientists and innovators to commercialize cassava production, to make agriculture, I mean, smart and sexy, to attract the youth. And also we need support, I mean, from industrialists to manufacture this. And then we have to promote this to make sure to create wealth and employment. And then even the manufacture and then the export is a foreign exchange earner. And we all know, you have all seen this map before. This is a map of Africa. Look at all the countries that go into it. USA, China, India, the whole of Europe, even Japan. And we are just about 1.3 billion, but the whole world is telling us that we are overpopulated. Meanwhile, we have the largest, I mean, arable land, like all earlier speakers have said. So if you adopt the appropriate technology, we can even convert the Savannah, the Sahara, the Kalahari, the Namib Desert into, I mean, granaries on the continent. So we need to embrace mechanization to make farming good.
Thank you.
So the recommendation is that we need to maybe establish pilot plots, because this thing, I mean, a lot of people are doubting. We need to establish pilot plots all over so that smallholders can see it, and then we have to upscale and disseminate these proven technologies, and then Africa must promote African innovations, and then, I mean, we must patronize, I mean, made in African goods. Yes, this is me in 2020. You know, as a scientist, we have to be struggling to get small funding for our work. And then yesterday, you look at the time we wasted to get our politicians to come here openly. So I think it is good for African scientists to also go into politics. If I attempted to become the vice president of my country 5 years ago, but my votes were stolen. Otherwise, I would have been. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Round of applause. Thank you so much, Professor. No, please sit here. I was reluctant to stop him, even though I tried doing that severally. I was enjoying his presentation.
I'm Obierge Flenon from Benin Republic. We are a French-speaking country, so I don't know. I will try to make my presentation in English, but be aware with me, because I will not. okay for Ministry of Trade and Industry. Okay, so our outline, we will talk a little bit about content, cassava production in Benin, cassava consumption, and some challenge and next step for us. It's a little bit far from me, I don't know. I should have the presentation.
Wait.
So, but we're supposed to be seeing what we're doing. So let's know when we are. Just okay. So what? So give us this. So when you are controlling this, I will be controlling that one. So this is where you are, right? Okay, this is where you are. So let me know. Get closer to me. Stay not close. All right.
So I was saying that Benin Republic is a West African country with agriculture as main economy, and we produce cotton as principal product, which is also export, but culture like maize, cassava, and yam are predominant. So when we are ranking them, cassava is at the second place after maize, and they have a strategic role in food security and poverty reduction. Cassava is nationwide product, but more in the south part of the country. And it is almost 56% of the gross production of all of roots and tuber in Benin. So you can see that it is in the southern part that we are producing more cassava than the other part of the country. Cassava is a staple food for Beninese, providing almost 440 kilocalories per day per person, and it contributes to 10.7% of agricultural GDP and generates a lot of revenue across the value chain. Cassava is also resilient to climate change and is processed in several types of products, so contribute to economical resilience and food diversification. Among the 7 agri-zone production in Benin, which we call Pôle de Développement Agricole, cassava is produced in all agroecological zones. But we have one of them among the 7 which is very low. And as I was saying, cassava is taking a big part of all roots and tuber in Benin. In 2014, we can see that the cassava production in Benin was the 11th, rank 11 in Africa as a producer of cassava. But when you see the graph, which is showing the production of Africa production compared to Benin production, you will see that starting 1995, production of cassava has increased in Benin because of 2 major programs that was put in place by the government. And those programs focus on production, processing of cassava as well as research. And yes, as I was saying, we are ranking 11 in terms of cassava production. The table here also shows a little bit about the evolution of the production. We are producing 3,000,008 tons of cassava, between 3,000,008 and 4 million of tons of cassava per year. And our government actually has a development plan And in this development plan, it said that between 2021 and 2026, we will transitioning from primary subsistence production to a competitive agro-industrial production. So the government of Benin want to increase national production by improve the yield through access to certified cutting of seed and modern technique, local processing and value creation by establishing 6 agro-industrial complexes dedicated to cassava, rice, and maize in some strategic municipality in Benin, creating of inclusive value chain by partnership between small-scale producer, farmers organization, and private sector to facilitate market access, development of sub-products like gari, acheke, bread flour, and starch, tapioca, biofuel, and also improve capacity building of the producer and processor to produce high-quality products. In terms of consumption in Benin, we are ranking 4th when we take the quantity of cassava that is eaten in Benin per person. And we process cassava in more than 30 forms, and at least 10 of them are regularly in the market. We have the boiled cassava, the gari, the tapioca, acheke, the lafun, the agbili, the cassava flour, the alcohol, and gari is predominant in all this production. It is one of the largest form of consumption also, and we improve the nutritional value of this gari by adding soya bean during the process. We add also palm oil, coconut milk, pineapple juice. So I think that during the exhibition, people have seen in the table a different type of gari that we are producing in Benin. And we export more in Nigeria and Niger markets. We want to share also with you the experience of gari sohwi. It is a specific kind of gari that has a specific processing way. And this year, in 2025, we have received a certificate of recognition of this type of gari by the African Intellectual Property Organization. So in French, we call it Indication Géographique Protégée. I don't know how to translate really in English, but this gari sohwi, as I was saying, is a special kind of gari. And since 2018, Benin started to work on the conformity of the gari sohwi Savalu. Savalu is an area, it is a commune in Benin, and this has been made with the support of the French Development Agency and African Intellectual Property Organization. So for 6 years, they have worked on the conformity of this gari, and they apply officially to receive the recognition of what we call IGP in 2024. And this year, it has published in their book on the 30th September that this way of processing is really protected now. What we can say also from this experience is that the physico-chemical characteristic and sensory attribute of gari sohwi of Savalu have been analyzed in numerous studies summarized by the Professor Akisoe Noel, who is in the room actually. This summary reveals a high degree of heterogeneity in gari sohwi, distinguished by its significant lower cyanide contents compared to other fresh variety analyzed, as well as smaller particle size, a high degree of gelatinization, which could also lead to a good starch digestibility and some heterogeneity in color and taste. The geographical area covered by this EGP, Gari Sorui of Savalou is the commune of Savalou, as I was saying, and it's 14 district. So here, as you can see in the picture, the Ministry of Trade that has wear a white dress is receiving the certificate by the African Intellectual Property Organization. And if you want more information about this EGP Gari Sorui of Savalou, you can contact from the community of Savalou. There is a kind of association of those who are producing this type of Gari, and they are represented here by Mrs. Kapuchichi Agat, who has her hand up, and from the Ministry of Trade in Benin, Directorate of Internal Trade, you have Mr. Oke Regis also, who is there. And from the University of Abomey Calavi, you have the Professor Akeso Inoue. So this is the Gari Sorui. I don't know if everybody has tested in this room, but you can still have the opportunity to test it from until tomorrow. And you will see that it is very specific Gari and very pleasant to eat. In terms of challenge, we have, as our other colleague has presented, we have several challenges in terms of variety development of cassava, land availability. We have a lot of small scale producer. We have also a challenge about industrialization. We don't have too many machines to process cassava and also even to produce the cassava. The food security focus most less in nutrition, but there is some initiative to produce improve quality of Gari, as I said, by adding soya bean during the process, or by adding some palm oil during the process. And another challenge is the access to the Nigeria market, for example, because we are so close, and we wanted also to access other African country market, especially for the Gari Sorui, who is very specific to Benin. In terms of next step for us, it is the development and intensification of biofortified cassava variety, as well as resilient and acceptable by consumer. And we have several research institutions and Ministry of Agriculture. We have also intention to work on fortification of cassava sub-products to promote them, and also to fortify with premix some sub-product like the cassava flour, and yes, to promote all those biofortified products, and this is for GAIN and its partners. And we have also some regulation issue of this fortified cassava product that will be addressed by the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Ministry of Agriculture, specifically the agency who certify our product in Benin. And before finalizing, we enjoy eating cassava leaf in Benin. So as you can see in this slide, we also made a lot of soup based on cassava leaf in Benin. Thank you so much for your attention.
Merci beaucoup, madame. Please take your seat here. Thank you. So we would just give each and every one of the panelists just 1 minute to give your final thoughts on all the presentations made. Just 1 minute so that we can disperse today and come back here bright and early tomorrow. So may I start with you, Prof?
Yeah, thank you all, and then sorry for that break in the technical issue about the presentation. But I think we've all come to accept from the previous presentation since yesterday that cassava is emerging as a very major crop in Africa. It has not got the attention that the cereal crops have got throughout the history of this continent, simply because cassava is not a white man's food. So he did not, make any investment in it. And it has been demonized, and then we have also been apostles of that demonization to such an extent that we have neglected it for so long. But now that the reawakening is coming, I think it is high time we look within and then develop African-centered innovations and technologies to unearth the huge potential of this crop so that our various countries will not be going with cap in hand begging for paltry sums that we can generate ourselves from our very resourceful crop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Please don't open a new lecture. Just your final thoughts on the conversation. Please hand over the microphone.
Thank you very much. For me, I think it's time for Africa to wake up properly. Cassava has to be treated as a Pan-African product. Sooner or later, in fact, it's even happening now. China is recovering or has recovered about 30% of its desert and is committing a lot of it, to growing staples like cassava. And if you look at the long value purpose of a value chain or value outputs of a cassava, it becomes even more urgent for Africa to take, steps for us to be able to secure, these global products. Some people have talked about 200 derivatives, some have talked about 20, some have talked about 35. If you look at the circle, it's just not the traditional food, systems that we can derive from cassava. Cassava is global. It cuts across pharmaceuticals, it cuts across the alcohol, it cuts across practically textiles, everything you can think about. So I think it's something that is a product Africa should treat with a lot of seriousness and then give it a lot of attention because it actually has that capacity to be able to build better inclusion and social cohesion amongst African countries. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think cassava is a way to go for Africa to start working together. Like my brother said, that if we start exporting different products across Africa, it's even more easier for us to match up with the HACCP and some other critical control than even sending abroad. And in Africa, I think we have the same similarities because our gari is being prepared the same way. I saw a factory whereby designed by Chinese on how to make gari. So when they produce gari, finish, it turns to flour. They didn't know that there's what we call a resident time, that the cake or the granules need to stay before it becomes gari. And there's particular different stages of fire for it to genitalize first and for it to dry. You have to alternate different heat source from it. So a lot of people don't know. So most of the people that go abroad to buy gari, they didn't work. And I've said it here too. Cassava flour is one of the simplest things you have to do. But a lot of people that brought in machine for cassava flour, their flour turn yellow. Some people will have to separate the fiber from cassava after drying and milling, which is not supposed to be. At the end of the day, they are not producing flour. I think it's a high time for Africa to start developing a system so that we can start working together, sending the product better than this. The pandu, cassava leaves, is easier to do, but there's a technicalities in producing cassava leaf before you can prepare soup, unless you get another result. Thank you.
Well, I can't agree more with the last speaker. For me, my takeaway from all this is to ensure that we are able to add value profitably, efficiently, and sustainably to cassava and produce higher derivative products. We have opportunities to produce pharmaceutical grade starch from cassava, apart from all other things that has been mentioned. If you can make high quality cassava flour, or make starch, you're just about one step from making pharmaceutical grade starch, which the pharmaceutical industries use in their formulation. So the takeaway is we need to seriously increase the value, increase the stages and the capacities of our value addition. Because if we continue to hammer on the production, agricultural production of cassava, a time will come that we'll begin to have glut. We'll be able to produce so much cassava and then we'll not be able to add value to it. And so it's going to be detrimental to farmers at that stage. But in developing the value chain, every other aspect of it has to be carried along together in a holistic manner so that the entire value chain can be carried along together. Thank you.
Cassava is a staple crop with a very good potential. So it's high time cassava comes out from its shelf. It's time to come out from the research work because a lot of research work has been carried out on this crop. So it's time for it to come out of the shelf. It's time for it to come out from research work. It's time for it to come out from the field and then move to commercialization. Thank you.
Thank you. Mine is very simple. The heads of states of African continent must come to the table to discuss the value chain of cassava. And why am I saying so? I talked about cassava challenge. Every African nation grows cassava. What you have seen here are just a number of them. So it must be a state affair and it must be promoted.
I'm asking myself if I will speak French or English. So if I speak English, I will not be too long. I think that my takeaway for this different presentation is that as Beninese, I think that our journey to develop all the cassava value chain in Benin is very long. We still have to work very hard, and we need to improve the mechanization of our production of cassava as well as processing, because as we see in the video before, I think that in Benin also we are still at this stage. We need to improve really what we are doing. And for us, cassava is a symbol of richness. In Benin, still all the part of this plant is utilized for something. So we need to really focus on the development of the civil value chain under this. I think that we will also, our delegation will maybe contact the professor from Ghana to more understand what is possible. We are very interested in what we have seen. Thank you so much.
A round of applause, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. All of us are taking away something home. One that is very dear to me is that I learned that we can make cassava become beer. I don't know what you're taking away from here. On that note, I want to ask all of you to please stand on a simple straight line here. The DG and the chairman of Cassava Growers Association will take a photograph, and immediately after the photograph, the president of Cassava Growers Association of Nigeria, Mustafa Othman Bakano, would give us a closing remark. Where is Shulamite, please? Where is the DG, please? Please come so that we can take the photograph quickly. We've had a very long day. Shulamite, can we have you here? Thank you so much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. May I invite the President of the Cassava Growers Association of Nigeria, Mustafa Uthman Bakano, to give us his closing remarks. Please don't make it another lecture. Thank you.
Thank God I'm not a professor or a doctor. I'm just a farmer, so I'm going to be very brief. But nonetheless, we are just going to recap on where we started today. I mean, we started from smart technology-driven agriculture up to value chain development, industrial development, and of course, challenges there within on industrial purposes and so on. So it is very important now that what we have actually learned today must be properly documented and it's going to be summarized. And I'm sure by tomorrow the organizers will be able to put this into retrospect so that all of us can be able to have it handy and know what it takes for us to at least have a proper take home from the whole summary of events that has taken place today. So thank you very much for your patience. We have heard from the Beninese, we have heard from the Kenyans. Of course, cost-benefit analysis is something that you have mentioned, but then I think I have a contrary overview on that. We'll look at it. And of course, our Ghanaian presenter, of course, our VP, we are looking forward to more engagements in this regard. So I really thank you, everybody, for being here. And of course, from the Nigerian cassava industry, we are really working hard to see that we are embracing our African brothers, to see how we can scale this up to the barest minimum of our own capacities. So we're going to increase strength and capacity and join our hands together, like not just in this conference, but then of course in other future engagements. Of course, like my Kenyan brother has mentioned, of course, integration in Africa is something that we are looking at, and it's a purpose. I've been to Senegal, I've been to about a few other more countries, and I think Kenya is one of those places that we have in mind as well. But we're going to be there, and then we're going to discuss further and see how we can discuss. We've been discussing this in our research institute with the professor of the Umudike Institute on how we can look at the researches in Africa and then probably even domesticate what we have seen elsewhere so that it will ease our developmental processes. And then particularly like places like Brazil where we share the same topography is something that we've been calling for it. So thank you very much for your presentations, gentlemen. We really appreciate it. And I wish you at least a very nice, wonderful rest tonight, and then while we reconvene tomorrow and continue the final discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. No, not a lecture at all, but that was excellent. We want to say thank you to everyone who has participated in all that we have done today, and we want to just do a few housekeeping announcements. We're going to commence exactly by 8 a.m. tomorrow so that we can have time to also do the Industrial Excellence Award. Of course, we have a beautiful gala dinner night tomorrow. So come with enough energy for us to do that, and let's see you here bright and early tomorrow. God bless Nigeria, God bless Ghana, God bless Benin Republic, God bless Africa. See you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Thank you.